The dust motes danced in the afternoon sun, settling over the jagged shards of what used to be my mother's favorite crystal vase. It had survived 20 years of marriage, 2 house moves, and my mother's grueling 3-year battle with cancer. But it didn't survive Diana. "Oh, Olivia. I am so sorry." Diana had cooed yesterday, her voice dripping with a fake, saccharine sweetness that made my skin crawl. "I was just dusting, and my sleeve must have caught the edge. You know how clumsy I can be." She wasn't clumsy. She was a surgeon of psychological warfare. I watched her eyes as she apologized. They weren't looking at the floor in shame. They were looking at me, tracking the precise moment my heart broke. That was the moment I realized that if I didn't act, I wouldn't just lose my mother's memories. I would lose my life. I installed the security camera that night. Hidden inside a vintage-style hallway clock, its lens was a tiny, unblinking eye that saw what my father refused to acknowledge. My name is Olivia Bennett. I'm 24 years old, an aspiring victim advocate, and for the last 2 years, I have lived in a house where the walls were closing in. The memory of the fall isn't a blur, it's a series of sharp, high-contrast images burned into my retinas. I remember the cold air at the top of the landing. I remember the smell of Diana's expensive, heavy perfume, something floral and suffocating. I remember the way the hallway light glinted off her perfectly manicured nails. And then, I remember the weight. 2 palms, flat against my shoulder blades, delivering a sudden, violent shove that sent my center of gravity into the abyss. She tripped, James. You know how careless she can be on those stairs. I was drifting in and out of consciousness on a gurney in the emergency room of St. Jude's. The fluorescent lights overhead felt like physical stabs to my eyes. "Thank goodness I was there to call for help," Diana's voice continued. It was her devoted wife voice, the one she used for the public. It was high-pitched, slightly tremulous, designed to trigger the protective instincts of any man within earshot. I felt a cool hand on my arm. "Miss Bennett. Olivia. Can you hear me?" I opened my eyes. Dr. Sarah Chen was leaning over me. She wasn't looking at the charts. She was looking at the bruises blossoming across my skin. She was observant. She was sharp. And most importantly, she looked like she didn't believe a word coming out of Diana's mouth. "Olivia has always been unsteady on her feet," Diana added, leaning into the doctor's field of vision. She reached down and patted my hand. Her fingers felt like dry ice. Ever since her mother passed 5 years ago, she's been troubled, volatile. "We've tried everything, haven't we, James?" My father, standing in the shadows of the ER bay, nodded slowly. He looked haggard, his spirit eroded by 2 years of Diana's subtle concerns about my mental health. He was a man who had lost his wife and was so terrified of being alone that he had handed the keys to his soul to a predator. "Doctor," my father said, his voice cracking. "She just fell. It was an accident." Dr. Chen didn't look back at him. She was tracing a series of grip marks on my upper arms. "These bruises are inconsistent with a fall, Mr. Bennett. These are defensive marks. And the impact pattern on her ribs suggests she was propelled downward with significant force before she ever hit the first step." I saw Diana's jaw set. The mask was beginning to itch. "What exactly are you implying, Dr. Chen? Are you suggesting I would hurt my own stepdaughter?" "I am stating clinical observations," Dr. Chen replied, her voice like iron. "Observations that I am legally mandated to report. Now, I need to speak with my patient privately." As the curtain pulled shut, isolating me from the woman who had just tried to kill me, I felt a surge of adrenaline that cut through the pain. "Olivia," Dr. Chen whispered, leaning in. "You're safe here. There are security guards at the door. I've already flagged your case with the social worker. Tell me the truth." "I have proof," I whispered back. My ribs screamed as I moved my hand toward the rail where my phone sat today. "The clock! In the hallway! It's a camera!" I saw Dr. Chen's eyebrows lift. She didn't waste time. She helped me hold the phone. We logged into my secure cloud storage. My heart hammered against my chest. Had she found it? Had she wiped the drive? I scrolled through the motion-activated clips. My thumb hovered over the one timestamped at 8:14 p.m. tonight. I pressed play. The footage was crystal clear. The wide-angle lens captured the entire landing. On the screen, the silent version of the event played out. I saw myself walking toward the stairs. I saw Diana step out of the shadows. There was no argument. There was no tripping. There was only a cold, calculated strike. I watched myself disappear from the frame, followed by the sight of Diana standing at the top of the stairs, looking down for 5 long seconds with a face of pure, chilling indifference. She wasn't checking if I was alive. She was waiting to make sure I wasn't moving. My God, Dr. Chen breathed. Just then, my phone vibrated with a system alert. An authorized login attempt. Cloud backup too. Diana was at home, or perhaps using her phone in the hallway, trying to guess my passwords. She was a professional. She knew that in the modern world, the only thing that could kill a lie was data. She was trying to incinerate the evidence. But she didn't know I had a physical SD card hidden inside the clock's battery compartment, and a third backup link to my best friend Emma's server. Detective Lisa Winters arrived 30 minutes later. She was a veteran of domestic assault cases, the kind of woman who could smell a liar through a brick wall. She reviewed the footage in silence, her face hardening into a mask of professional rage. Mr. Bennett, Detective Winters called out, pulling back the curtain. Please step inside. Bring your wife. My father entered, looking confused. Diana followed, her eyes darting to the laptop on the rolling table. She saw the frozen frame of the video. For a fraction of a second, I saw it, the true Diana. The eyes went flat, the mouth thinned, and the angel died right there in the sterile light of the ER. I'm going to play this for you, James, the detective said. The room was silent except for the sounds on the video, the thud of a shove, the sickening rattle of my body hitting the wood, and then Diana's voice, suddenly shifting into a high-pitched scream for help. My father sank into the plastic guest chair as if his bones had turned to liquid. He watched it 3 times. He watched his wife attempt to murder his child. James, it's not what it looks like. Diana started, her voice now shrill and desperate. She's been gaslighting me. She probably used AI to fake that. You know how tech-savvy she is. It's over, Diana, my father whispered. He didn't look at her. He looked at me, his eyes overflowing with a decade's worth of regret. I saw your face. You didn't even flinch when she hit the bottom. Detective Winters didn't wait. She turned Diana around and clicked the handcuffs into place. The sound was the most beautiful music I had ever heard. As Diana was led away, screaming about her rights and calling me a snake, the investigation began to widen. Detective Winters and the DA's office didn't just look at the fall. They looked at the bank accounts. They found that Diana had been systematically draining my mother's life insurance fund, money meant for my grad school. She had stolen nearly $200,000 over 18 months, moving it through a series of shell accounts managed by her brother, a disreputable estate lawyer. But the most chilling discovery came a week later. I wasn't her first. Detective Winters sat me down in her office. We ran her prints through the interstate database. Diana isn't her real name. It's Diane Vance. She's had 3 grieving husbands in 3 different states. In 2 of those cases, the children were unstable and ended up in state care or ran away. In the 3rd, the daughter died of an accidental overdose. I felt a cold sweat break out. I hadn't just been fighting for my mother's vase. I had been fighting a serial predator who viewed grieving families as ATMs. The sentencing hearing took place on a Tuesday, the same day of the week I had been pushed. The courtroom was packed. My best friend Emma sat on my left, and my father sat on my right. He had spent the last 3 months in intensive therapy, trying to reconcile the man he thought he was with the man who had allowed a monster into his bed. The prosecutor stood up, presenting the timeline of Diana's career. He showed the jury the hidden camera footage. He showed the financial ledgers. And then, he called me to the stand. I walked past Diana. Without her makeup, her designer clothes, and her angel persona, she looked small, shriveled, bitter. She glared at me, her lips moving in a silent curse. Olivia, the prosecutor asked, why did you install that camera? Because the truth was being erased, I said, my voice steady for the first time in years. Because in my house, my memories were clutter, and my mother's life was a distraction. I installed it because I knew that if I didn't give the truth a voice, Diana would make sure it stayed silent forever. The judge didn't take long to deliberate. Mrs. Bennett, or should I say, Ms. Vance, the judge began, his voice echoing in the hallowed hall. Your actions are the definition of predatory. You didn't just steal money, you stole the safety of a home. You exploited the most sacred human emotion, grief, to facilitate a slow-motion execution. For the attempted murder of Olivia Bennett and the systemic fraud of the Bennett estate, I sentence you to 20 years in state prison. No possibility of parole for 15. Diana didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just turned to me and spat on the floor. You should have stayed in the basement, Olivia. You were always too much like your mother. That, I said as the guards pulled her away, is the best compliment I've ever received. The cleanup was physical as much as emotional. My father put the childhood home on the market a month after the trial. It's tainted. Liv, he told me as we packed the last of the boxes. Every time I look at those stays, I see my own failure. It wasn't just your failure, Dad, I told him, handing him a framed photo of my mother that Diana had hidden in the attic. She was a pro. She knew exactly which buttons to push. The important thing is that the clock stopped ticking for her. I moved into a small apartment near my university. With the restitution payments from Diana's seized assets, I was able to pay for my grad school in full. But I didn't go into corporate law like I had originally planned. I became a victim advocate counselor. I now work with a team of lawyers and tech experts, helping families who feel like they are being gaslit by predators. I teach daughters how to hide cameras. I teach fathers how to spot the angel mask. I teach survivors that their intuition isn't volatility, it's their soul trying to save them. Dr. Chen and I stayed in touch. She invited me to speak at a medical conference about hidden indicators of domestic abuse. I stood on that stage, looking out at hundreds of doctors, and I realized that my bruises had become my credentials. Last night, I visited my mother's grave. I brought a new crystal vase, not the old one, but a new one, filled with her favorite peonies. I did it, Mom, I whispered into the quiet air. The house is gone, but the family is safe. I kept the light on. I made sure the camera caught the truth. As I walked away, I checked my watch. Time was moving forward again. And for the first time in a long, long time, the silence didn't feel like a threat. It felt like peace. If this story stirred something inside you, don't scroll away in silence. Tap like. It tells us these stories deserve to be told. Subscribe to Vengeful Goddess for unforgettable tales of betrayal, resilience, and justice. Stories you won't hear anywhere else. Turn on the bell icon, so the next story reaches you the moment it drops. Your support keeps these voices alive. Because sometimes, revenge isn't loud, being heard is.